3 road crossings for Atlas Pipeline District 1. Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Interlocal governmental agreement with the city of Cherokee for the operations of the library. If you recall, last budget year, you set aside $10,000 to reimburse the city for maintenance operation of the library. And this is just a simple interlocal agreement to do so. Wesleyan has okayed it. It's basically, city duties are basically to furnish us with invoices and give us the right to inspect the records of what's going on at the library. So our duties is to include $10,000 in our budget and to reimburse up to that amount every fiscal year.
Move for the approval.
Just need to sign one, don't
It means, well,
Sign all three, and we'll give them a copy too, that way.
we? Oh, okay.
Second. All in favor? I think this will be on their agenda for this Thursday.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is that for the old budget or the new budget?
It's for
This
this
is
one.
for
This one right
the current
here.
one right
Right,
now.
right.
We budgeted for this, the
Yeah.
before we always just
And when did
paid.
the budget start, January or
Yeah,
July?
and basically.
No, July.
Yeah, July. We'll just do it all over again, and so we never did that.
So this is for the year we're already in?
Right.
Just trying to get that on
Yeah.
the next page.
But you're not giving them any money because you've already budgeted it.
Well, it's in our budget right now, but we have not given them any money
Okay,
yet
but
because
what I mean is
we
you're not,
need this.
They had
you're
to
not
spend the
providing them
money.
more than you've already agreed to.
Yeah, and they had to spend the money before we could hand it to them. We couldn't just hand it to them, let them spend it, so.
Right, so
They spent the year using it on projects, and now we're gonna reimburse them what we agreed to.
And Bruce only needed 2 of those to take to the city council meeting when they do that, so they can sign our part. Then we can have one of those back also. Approve, disapprove permit for Dawson Geophysical Company on behalf of Chesapeake to conduct a geophysical survey of the District 1 shop. I never did really talk to these guys.
It's in Burlington.
It's in Burlington.
What does this consist of?
Just on this right there.
Yeah, but
I don't, so I never really talked to them, so I don't know. I'd kind of like to.
You want to table
I'd like
it
to
till you
motion
talk
to
to
table
them?
next week, so I can get some better information on it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve or disapprove oil and gas lease with Chesapeake Exploration on county property in Carmen.
Isn't this, it's just a contract.
It's a contract we
already
did agree
agreed
to
on,
last time, so it shouldn't be a problem.
I'll move for the approval.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item, Big Iron Company to present presentation on their company.
Not me.
It's not you? Anyone here? Okay, let's get it. Okay, now we have noted to discuss hazardous mitigation. I have notice of intent and letter of agency.
That's
you.
My name's Vicki Eggers, and I'll give each of you my card. I work with NODA, and right now we are writing We're doing hazard mitigation plans, and this is Alfalfa County's plan that we did that was approved in 2004. These are 5-year plans. We approached the board in 2008 to sign a notice of intent to update the plan, and you guys signed it. And then Oklahoma Emergency Management, for some reason, their infinite wisdom, sent an email to the chairman that it had been approved. They did that with all of the 8 counties in Otis District. None of them knew what it was, so they kind of ignored it. Or it got sent to the junk because they didn't recognize the address. That was their only attempt to contact them. We found out that they had been approved from an emergency manager of Blaine County. He had called OEM and said, hey, you've done this. And I said, well, yeah, you've been approved. So he let NODA know, excuse me, so we could write the plan, do the update. So we started checking around, and that's when we found out yours had also been approved. I got in contact with Vernon Sanders, your emergency manager, went over some stuff that he needed to do on the application, because you have to apply to get funding to help pay for it. Well, that didn't get done quick enough, and so after 3 years, they withdrew your notice of intent. So I'm here today to have you approve another notice of intent. The main difference from this than your first one, when we did the first notice of intent, we had $150,000 down for the project costs, and that you guys would either use in-kind services for the 25% match or use REAP grant money. Well, they came back and said, no, we didn't approve any plans for that much. They came up with the formula, the state did, based upon the population of the county, the number of incorporated cities and towns, over 250 population, and the number of school districts, because they want all the cities and towns and all the school districts included in the county plan. That makes sense in that the state only has 77 counties plus about 50 larger cities, as opposed to 77 counties plus 250 cities, and Lord only knows how many school districts we have in the state. So they want to be more all-inclusive for the small counties like Alfalfa, Grant, most of the counties that we deal with at NODA. It makes sense to include them all because not all of your smaller cities and towns have the funding to be able to do a plan, because we were talking to some of the towns in Garfield County and said, it's going to cost you at least $10,000 out of your pocket because they won't qualify for the grant funding through FEMA. So on this one, the total funding amount is $45,000. The local match is $11,250. The federal share is $33,750. And for the local match, we put down that either the county would come up with it, which is what Garfield County has agreed to do, and Blaine County also did it that way. Grant County is asking the towns in their county to pay $2 per population to help meet the expense, and that's going to cover, for them, it'll cover about 1/3 of the cost of it, and I did not figure out what that would come up to for you guys. It's kind of, your option. If you feel you have the $11,250 to pay, you can do that. And like I said, in Garfield County is paying the full 25% share, but they also have told the cities and towns that they're paying it this round. When it comes up again for renewal in 5 years, that they're going to want the cities and towns to put in part of it to help with the burden. That's the main thing I'm looking for.
When will the 11,250 be?
NODA, when we do it, we bill in 50% of it is due when we submit the plan, the draft for public review. You have to have draft for public review for 30 days. That's also the time we submit it the first time to Oklahoma Emergency Management for their review. And so that's when we bill for 50% at that point.
How long will that be, you say? How long will it be before you do that?
It has been taking 4 to 6 months once we start the plan. The NOI, and it could be a year before this happens. It depends on how quick they approve the NOI, and then we have to do an application to get the funding to do it. And, you know, that's based upon the number of federally declared disasters we have in the state. That's where the funding actually comes for, to do these plans and to update them, is from the federally declared disasters in the state. So, a couple of years ago, there was a whole lot of money floating around. We had a whole bunch of disasters in the state. But yeah, that 11,250 could feasibly be a year to year and a half before you would need it, and I would think closer to a year and a half. Like I said, we don't, you know, once we submit the application for the funding, then we, you know, it depends on what their funding, you know, is at that time. They could turn around in a month, say, you got to go for it. Or it could be like with Grant County, they got their application turned in last May, I think it was, May or June, and they didn't get approval to start until September, when the new fiscal year started. They had to wait for them to approve the funding. So, you know, like I said, it varies. It could be the same way, you know, for you guys. We start on Grant County's application, or on their plan we had the first committee meeting in December, and we would already have the draft out for public review, except our color printer died last week at notice, so we're waiting for that to come back, hopefully today, so I can print it off, and then it'll go out tomorrow. So.
Well, I'll move for the approval to sign the letter of intent. And as far as the funding, I think it depends, we have time when we come up, discuss that at another meeting. Just give us a chance to talk to the cities and see where we're at.